I want to take on a new issue. Most of you have laid out plans to move toward energy independence. Those plans have costs attached and potential negative impacts, at least in the short term. For example, maybe more expensive cars, more expensive feed for livestock, impacts on coal-producing states. So what would you do to turn it into a net benefit for the American economy, and how long might that take? Senator Biden?
It will take, to begin it, won't take long at all. We should increase the mileage for automobiles, require it. We should make sure that every new car sold in America beginning 2009 is a flex fuel automobile. We should be investing a great deal more in cellulosics research because corn ethanol is not going to take us the whole way. But the bottom line is you got to make it a fundamental priority. You got to say that we are going to make a major change. That requires a significant investment in alternative energy, renewable energy, moving from 2% to 20% by the end of this next decade in 2020. But the bottom line here is the president's got to make this a moral crusade for the American people. We're going to have to sacrifice to be able to get by and for the next couple years in order to be able to get a handle on the energy crisis. Governor Richardson?
Well, yeah, I like to think that I made my state a clean energy state. I was energy secretary. It's going to take an energy revolution, and I regret that this morning the U.S. Senate, despite the best efforts of all here, killed an energy bill that would have given more tax credits and incentives to renewable energy. And I think this is tragic. I think fuel efficiency standards in this country should be 50 miles per gallon, not 35. I think that's pathetic. I think we need to have 30% renewable sources in all our electricity by the year 2020. You asked about a year. I think 2020. Reduce our consumption of oil by 50% by having flex fuel vehicles, 50 miles per gallon. Also, we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and I would do so by 90% with a cap and trade program. But most importantly, it's going to take the American people, and it's going to take a president on a bully pulpit asking the American people to sacrifice a little bit, and I will. And that means being more sensitive to mass transit, to appliances, to air conditioning, to the way we live. And if we all do this, without mandates, but we all do this, we can reduce our dependence on foreign oil, which is enormously unhealthy. 65% of our oil is imported. We're paying close to $100 to OPEC today. This has to be an energy revolution led by a president.
Senator Dodd, can you try that in 30 seconds?
Well, look, first of all, you're starting here. You've had wonderful efforts here. Governor Vilsack started. Governor Culver with the Power Fund adopted with the state legislature this year is a great step forward. One state making a difference. We're borrowing $1 billion every single day to buy foreign oil. $1 billion every day. We're not going to wish ourselves out of this problem here. I'm the only candidate on this forum here who's advocated a corporate carbon tax. Now, I'm fully aware of the implications of suggesting a tax, but it's not enough to state the goals. We've got to have the courage to stand up and tell you how you get there. And until you deal with the price differentials here, cheaper fuel is always going to win out, unfortunately. So you need to be able to tax this carbon, which is killing us and killing this planet. And I'm pleased that Al Gore and Bill Bradley have called our plan the most honest and bold of the energy plans here. This is the best gift our generation can give to the next. But if we're not honest about it and tough about it, it's going to be nothing more than a lot of speeches and nothing much will change.
Senator Clinton?
Well, I think it's imperative that we address this issue, and I think your question was, well, will how we do it affect the average American? Yes, it will. That's part of what we're going to have to tell people. I advocate a cap and trade system. What I want to do with the auction of pollution permits is to take a lot of that money and invest it in new technologies, new ways of getting to our objectives that I've outlined in my energy plan. I want to use some of it, though, to cushion the costs that will come onto the American consumer. But it's not just enough to have an energy plan, not just enough to tackle global warming. We've got to enlist the American people the way we did in a previous generation for the Apollo program. As a little girl, I remember being thrilled about that and feeling that there was something I could do. My fifth grade teacher said it was to study math and science, but it gave me an idea of actually contributing to my country. This has to call for a new form of American patriotism. So when people, particularly on the other side of the aisle, talk about how we will wreck the economy and impose all of these costs, that is what is happening right now. We cannot sustain the current energy profile in this country. That's why we have to act, and we will act. in a way that brings the country together and lifts us up and gives us a feeling that we are, once again, reaching for the stars, only we're going to do it right here on Earth.
Senator Obama?
This is a moral imperative. I've got a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter, and I want to make sure that the planet is as beautiful for them as it was for me. Now, what that means is there are going to be some increases initially in electricity prices, for example, if we have a cap-and-trade system. Over time, technology will adapt because investors and people who are looking to make money will see that they can make money through green technologies. We're already seeing this. In Keokuk, they're just opening a plant right now that is going to provide 400 well-paying jobs to build wind turbines. And that's the promise of the future. But in order for this to happen, we've got to be courageous enough to not just talk about it in front of the Sierra Club or organizations that are already sympathetic to us. When I announced my proposal to increase fuel efficiency standards on cars, I went to Detroit in front of the automakers and said they had to change their ways. And I have to say the room was really quiet and nobody clapped. But that's okay because part of what the next president has to do is not just tell the American people what they want to hear, has to tell them what they need to hear.
Senator Edwards, you're the only one not in on this so far. Your turn.
Well, I want to get in. I think, first of all, we need to recognize what the obstacles are to the change that everyone believes is necessary. And the obstacles are oil companies, power companies, all those entrenched interests that stand between America and the change that it needs. And we do need a president who will actually ask Americans to be patriotic about something other than war, who will say to America, for us to deal with these issues and deal with them in a serious way, whether it's cap and trade, whether it's carbon, cap and trade is what I propose, but either way, it's a serious effort to move America off its dependence on carbon-based fuels and deal with what I think is a moral crisis, which is the future of the planet for our children and our grandchildren. We have a responsibility to future generations, an enormous responsibility. I mean, 20 generations came before us, our parents, our grandparents, and did everything they could do to leave America better than they found it, and to make certain that their children had a better life than they've had. That's what our responsibility is. Our moral responsibility is to rise up as a nation with the right kind of president and the right kind of leadership and go after these huge moral responsibilities that we're faced with.
Thank you.
Carolyn, do you want to ask us to raise our hands about global warming?
I wasn't doing the
You didn't get a very
hand-raising
good
thing
response
today.
from the Republicans
I wasn't
yesterday.
doing that today.
We all want to be on record. We believe in it. We think it's a real problem.